Our community is amazing. Like, I love it.
I'm so excited.
This is not how the podcast works. I ask the questions. Welcome to the Trailmix Love Piescast, a podcast where we'll dive into different aspects of Trailmix games, love and pies, and why Pride is such an important month for us to celebrate. Each week, we will invite new Trailmixers to come and talk with us about different aspects of Pride when it comes to the workplace, the games industry, or our game, Love and Pies. So join me, your host Philippa, as we talk to all these amazing guests. Hello, and today I'm here with our community team, Aino and Jaedan.
Hello.
Let's go.
To talk about how we approach Pride and LGBTQ representation when building and interacting with our community. What's a piece of queer media or a queer creator that has inspired you?
I guess for me, I have one very specific one, who is Tuve Jansson, who was a Finnish artist. She was in a relationship with a woman for a lot of her life. A lot of her queerness is actually within her stories. So if you don't know, Tuve Jansson is the artist who created the Movements, but also did a lot of other art and wrote a lot of adult fiction after the Movements. So I find her work especially inspiring.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. I was just in Helsinki this week. Saw so much Moomin stuff, and then
Yeah,
definitely
actually
didn't know.
there's like a part of the story where there's two little girls who carry around a diamond, and it's said that it's kind of representation of Tuve Jansson and her girlfriend at the time, and them hiding their relationship.
That's so sweet. It's kind of tragic at the same time. though.
Yeah.
I know.
I think I'm a very basic animator answer because I like many people of my generation grew up with Steven Universe, which was like some of the most meaningful representation I think has ever been done in animation up until that point. And when Garnet, one of the characters, is first like revealed in a spectacular way, it was like whoa. It was good.
Do you have any queer media that has inspired you, Phil?
This is not how the podcast works. I ask the questions.
Sorry.
The thing I watched the most recently, The Last of Us, the episode with Bill and Frank.
Oh,
Literally.
And I think we've taken some inspiration of that.
I
Can we
wonder
put on the
who's
Put it right there,
in
put it
charge of
there.
that.
Yeah, we'll put
On to some more serious stuff. This podcast was kind of born out of the community team. So why did you want to make this podcast in the first place?
kind of started from the game team designing the event that we had for Pride. And we really thought about the theme of quiet pride, family pride, and what would make sense for our audience and our players. And also, like, what do we want to show? Our players don't really see who makes the game, and I think our team's so wonderful. I really wanted to be able to bring our players closer to our team and really see the amazing kind of voices that we have making this game and how much thought is put into it. Last year for Pride, we did go all out. We had all sorts of amazing campaign going on, but I feel like you didn't really see how much it actually matters to us. So building the podcast and getting everyone involved has been really like something for our players to really see who we are.
It is really amazing to see how passionate everyone is. I mean, I can feel it in the studio. To that point, how do you feel that the Love and Pies community has responded to the LGBTQ representation in the game, or maybe some of the things you guys have been sharing?
The representation in the game is such a core part of our audience as well. Obviously, the representation's been there since the very beginning. I think I've read personally like hundreds of letters or messages from players when they've said, they feel seen by having character like them in the game, or Trans Day visibility post. So many messages, just people thanking us for talking out loud. So for me, knowing that this is a core part of our audience is super important, that we're actually also celebrating it and making sure these moments are seen and felt by that group of players.
It's actually, I was definitely a fan of Love and Pies even before I started working for Trailmix. And I think one thing I remember loving is how the game isn't very overt about a lot of its representation. The characters just talk about it casually. Sven and Yuka both talk about their sexual preference like super early on, but in a really offhand, that's just who they are kind of way.
Yeah.
And even in the community space, having a bit of time to actually recognize that a little bit more as well is really nice.
Yeah, like making that post about Dante, we don't say those things always out loud in game.
No.
There's so much lore that players don't know about. And when we can and when we should make those messages out there, it's so important and so nice that we can do it and then have the support of the players. Of course, not everyone is going to be supportive. But I think the messages that we get that are positive make so much bigger impact.
I mean, yeah, this is kind of one of my questions is do you also get some negative feedback from players?
I think as a company, we've talked about it. When a year ago, we did our Pride event, I think that was the most difficult part because actually some of the negative feedback came from like the players who do normally support this, just because the event was more difficult than what we had maybe expected as well. So that was difficult when the negative feedback came from the audience that we wanted to speak to and show how much we care. I think the most important thing though is to keep the audience and community safe. So we do try to make sure that we're removing any comments that would be attacking anyone else. It's the same for our some of our marketing videos. We do have sometimes some really nasty comments, and I think it's so important that we remove those to make sure that our audience that we want to show the game to feel safe coming into our community spaces as well.
Yeah, our values are our values, and they're kind of embedded within most of our team members.
So when Laura was building Appleton, she was making sure that there's lots of different representation so that we do represent different sexualities, races, for all different types of audiences and people to be seen when we're looking at what we want to celebrate in our community. Is picking, what you're celebrating. If it's a different religious holiday, making sure you're then celebrating all different kinds of religious holidays, celebrating any kind of LGBTQ plus moment like Pride. I think the main thing for me is that we celebrate and everyone's allowed their own opinions and we don't judge anyone regardless of, what are their thoughts and opinions on. But try to make, it's inclusive for everyone.
Yeah, and I really love that people at Trailmix are comfortable enough to come up to us and ask us if we are doing something for a certain holiday or event, which has happened multiple times. And I've loved that it's always quite refreshing and sometimes quite challenging to hear where, oh, shoot, I didn't think of Ramadan.
Yeah.
But people come up to you and you're like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's make a thing for Ramadan.
And it's really cool as well to see that reflected in the comments. Like I read our socials, I'm not gonna lie. And it's really awesome when people are like, wow, this game has wished me like Eid Mubarak.
And I do like our process of how we create those posts as well. Like we always have this support from the team who are giving us feedback on everything that we do create, to make sure that those groups of people feel like this is something we want to put out.
Yeah.
And we never, at least I feel like we never have to make that decision, the two of us.
No.
So
and also they mean it's a well-informed post. It's always someone who's like, oh, this is actually something important to me. Let's do it.
Yeah, you're actually accessing the community that you're trying to represent as
For
well.
sure.
Yeah, and like making sure that these things are authentic and they're coming from the right place. So not doing a Pride podcast to, it's not for the purpose of, hey, we're gonna reach a huge amount of players, like new players necessarily, but like we just want to show our audience that we know that cares about this topic who we are and that it actually does matter to us.
Yeah. How are you working towards creating an inclusive and safe community for our players?
Moderating is a really big one. I think making, like I said before, making sure that players who are coming to our community feel free to be who they are, no matter what's your background. One thing I love about our community specifically is that they also will defend us and each other. If you've seen some posts where, maybe someone's left a negative comment about one of the like Sven and Angus, for example. And then you'll have loads of players who'll be responding, being like, oh, have you not been reading the story? Like, this is clear from day one. I think those moments are nice. And for our community specifically, they do try to keep it safe themselves as well.
Yeah.
In terms of making sure that those smaller communities don't feel attacked.
Our community is amazing. Like, I love it. So engaged, so positive.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
100%.
I do have a final question, which is, what are you most excited about for the next year for Love and Pies?
This podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This is your baby, so it makes sense.
I get to edit it, so I'm going to add a bunch of effects. You know.
The podcast.
I'm so excited about the improvements we're making on the game that I think they'll be hits and things that people have been asking for a long time. So yeah, I'm very stoked for those.
Yes. We have a collection feature.
Yeah.
And it's very fun. I even got to work on it a little bit. Very excited for it.
Yeah.
I mean, the collections feature is definitely one that our players were asking for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Can they re-see the images? And we spent so much time in creating those amazing images.
Someone said the stat of how many chat images have been created. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's pretty mega. Like
It's so many.
lot of
It's a
work from
lot.
the art team, and they're beautiful. So yeah, being able to revisit them just from like a selfish, I work on Love and Pies perspective, the art team pour their heart and soul into it. I'm excited for that reason as well.
It was like the most exciting thing of my first week is someone showing me the master like file where they all sit, and I was like, whoa,
All
going
the
through
chat
all of them.
images. Yeah.
The Appleton album, it's kind of feature that was requested by the players, and that's why we created it. So we do read all the reviews, all the comments, all of the player support tickets that are submitted, and those feedbacks do get shared with the team and then included in the game as well. So please do continue to give us feedback because we do get to build really cool and amazing features at the back of that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly. It really helps us. So thanks both of you for joining. This has been very fun. And yeah, thanks for keeping our community a safe place.
Happy
Pride!
Please check the description for the opportunity to win some amazing in-game prizes.